Good evening, everyone. Good evening. By special request, just to break the ice very briefly, if you know what this is, yell it out. Milli Vanilli, Blame It on the Rain. Not gonna lie, first concert when I was in the 4th grade was Milli Vanilli. Listen, I want to say thanks to each and every single one of you for being here tonight for the 73rd Annual Chamber Dinner and hors d'oeuvres. It seems like last year we were certainly coming out of COVID, but we were able to gather fully outside. And it feels like this year we're still coming out of COVID, but now we're inside. So thank you everyone for being here. Give yourself a round of applause. So briefly, I'd like to thank some of our sponsors tonight, our presenting sponsor, First Horizon Bank, and additional sponsorship. Yes, go ahead and clap. Peak Insurance Group, Spangler Restoration, Appalachian Regional Healthcare System, JSA Productions, Green Construction, and Creekside Electronics. Thanks also goes to Stick Boy for delivering and baking the wonderful birthday cake that we have this evening. Also to Casa Rustica, to Ricky and Liz Padroni. Thanks for helping us navigate our way and help organize the Taste of Boone Food Village. And lastly, yes, thanks to the Appalachian Theater staff and board of directors, because barely 48 hours ago, the call was made to switch venues. And they have absolutely rolled out the red carpet and accommodated the chamber with everything the chamber has needed for tonight. So thank you very, very much. It's kind of easy to get the mayor to show up when he's got to walk about 50 feet. I think it's 2 right-hand turns and through the front door. I would like to introduce to you the mayor of Boone, bringing his greetings on behalf of the town and a short little jaunt here through the front doors. So clear the love for the town of Boone and the perfect person to hold the seat as mayor. Welcome, Tim Futrell.
Thank you, David. I just want to say that it's so exciting to see everyone here tonight and to finally be able to come together and see each other and fellowship in a way to where we're, not having to figure out if we're still on mute or not, or, I don't know how many times I've done that over the last couple of years, but it's really great to see everyone here. It's outstanding to be able to host this here in Boone, and we have the beautiful App Theater. Just take a look at this theater, everyone. We're doing amazing things. We're doing amazing things here, but I want to welcome everyone, and I just want to thank everyone who's involved, everyone who put this together. The Boone Area Chamber of Commerce does an outstanding job, and this is a great night to be able to showcase the talent we have in business and community, and all the folks that represent us so well. They are really the true leaders here and the ones who really make the big impact on our community, and so I appreciate them so much. All right. And with that said, please enjoy yourselves and show your appreciation when you can, because we've got a lot of good folks that we're going to appreciate tonight. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Sponsorship support goes a long way to making events like tonight possible. Our presenting sponsor has been with us for the last 3 annual meetings, so if you're keeping score, that's 2 pandemic-impacted events and 1 rain venue switch for tonight. It may not have been scripted as planned, but First Horizon Bank has been a rock for our organization, and we thank them for their support in keeping our annual meeting front and center. To speak on behalf of First Horizon, please welcome Vice President Amanda White.
Good evening. My name is Amanda White, and I'm the Banking Center Manager for the First Horizon Bank here in Boone. And on behalf of the colleagues who are here with me tonight, as well as Jason Triplett, our Market President, who wishes he could be with us tonight, but he is moving his oldest daughter into college this week. So I first just want to thank the Chamber for putting on this incredible event, especially thinking about the fact that they had to come up with a plan B, as was just said, less than 48 hours ago. So let's please welcome or thank again our Chamber staff for putting this on. First Horizon Bank is very happy to sponsor this annual event. And I just want to congratulate all of our award winners tonight and look forward to a wonderful evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. The Chamber this past year has accomplished a ton, keeping Boone healthy by contributing to the continued rebound of our community from pandemic realities to setting our organization up with a stable future that will allow us to do important work for years to come. To give some final thoughts on her year as the chair of the Chamber Board of Directors, please welcome the Dean of the Walker College of Business at Appalachian State University, Dr. Sandy Vanoy.
Thank you, David, and good evening, everyone. It is really my pleasure, and I'm so happy to be a part of this community gathering in the beautiful Appalachian Theater that holds such wonderful memories from my childhood. It has been my privilege to serve on the Boone Chamber's Board of Directors since 2017, and I've served this past year as board chair. I can attest firsthand to the strength of this chamber and the care and concern that David Jackson and his team have for our community. And their support has been invaluable over the last 2 very challenging years. It's now my pleasure to introduce our new board chair, Talia Freeman, Director of Marketing for Beach Mountain Resort. Talia has already taken a strong lead in moving our board forward, and I look forward to continuing to work with Talia and this great chamber. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Dr. Vanoy. I'm so proud of you and proud to know you. As I look around tonight and just sharing moments with everyone, I can't help but think of how incredibly lucky that we are to live here. The sense of community that we have in the high country, it's like no other. Over the last 2 years, we've seen that we are strong, we've seen that we are resilient, and we could do anything to help our neighbors. I think we've really seen that, through the pandemic. We've watched the Chamber staff be a champion for business growth and for the health of our community. They remain committed to us and are the very backbone of our togetherness. I'm just as excited to live here now as I was over 30 years ago when I moved here. I'm proud to serve as this year's chair, and I know that our board will continue to be a catalyst for business growth. A few years ago, I picked up the phone and I called David Jackson and I said, I need help. I'm drowning, we're doing this concert series, all this stuff's happening at the resort, and I need help. And from that very moment that I asked the Chamber for help and that I asked David for help, I've seen incredible growth with our business at Beach Mountain Resort. I've found friends, I've found a support network within the Chamber staff, and I can't say enough about David's leadership, his passion for this community, and his unmatchable work ethic. He's one in a million, and I look forward to supporting him however I can. He's basically a celebrity, so I am honored to introduce the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Mr. David Jackson.
Hi there. Everybody get enough to eat tonight? Can we get a round of applause for our food folks out there? They were not disappointed to not have to stand out in the rain tonight, I can assure you of that. But thank you all for checking your email Who does that anymore, right? We were hoping you would, but we had so many partners to help us. I know a few other folks have echoed this already, but I've got to say thanks again to the Appalachian Theater staff. We came over here at 4 o'clock on Tuesday and said, could we come hang out for a while on Thursday night? And they said, sure. And here we are. So it takes a lot to put this event on every year. We've got great support from First Horizon and from our other sponsors. But this last 48 hours has been the greatest show of community that I've seen in quite some time. For everybody, all of our board members and volunteers and people that were walking down the street, saw us hanging out in here today, and they just said, hey, do you need a hand? And we said, please, come on in. It's worked out well. So we hope you have a great time here tonight. We've got a chance here this evening to introduce our staff to you. We've got a few new faces. We've got some faces that have been around for a little while as well. So if I could have the staff come out for just a moment and take a curtain call, we would appreciate it. This is the group that made it all happen here tonight. So. We've got a great team that has been assembled here. Ethan Walton is a relatively new member of our team. He's been with us about 4 months. Reggie Hunt is the executive director of the Boone Area Sports Commission, and I think we sent him to just about every business in town today to pick up something. So thank you, Reggie, for all of your help. Patrick Setzer, a longtime friend of the program. Patrick is one of those folks that was able to come over from a long career at Appalachian State University, and he said he wasn't done working yet. And we said, good, because we've got plenty for you to do. So thank you, Patrick. Natalie Harkey's been with the Chamber since I came over in 2016. That's hard to believe. That's just over 6 years ago now. Emma Faulkner graduated from the ranks of intern to be a part-time member of our staff now, and we're excited about her furthering her education right here in our community as she works with our team. And then Carrie Henderson's worked here for about 3 weeks, I guess now, and she is our new events coordinator. So we have been taking Carrie's cues for the last 48 hours, and you hit them all right on the mark. So a round of applause for our staff once again. We could not do what we do for you all in the community without this team here that's with us tonight. And speaking of teams, one of the things that we did with this event back when we first put it out a few months ago, we said that this was going to be an opportunity for us to celebrate a birthday, celebrate an organization that helped put Boone on the map in so many ways. And we were so excited, had so many meetings out at Daniel Boone Amphitheater with the folks at Saha. Every single time we were out there, Morena Greer would come running out and meet us and answer a question, and we were thrilled to have found a home in a place that it's been a home for so many of us. I walked in the amphitheater for the first time when I was about 9 years old. And so many of us had that experience, to see Horn in the West, to know that property, to be a gem in our community. And you're going to hear a little bit more about that. The things that make our area unique, we need to continue to invest in. So we said, Horn in the West and Saha were nice enough to have us come out. We're going to make sure that we donate a portion of the proceeds from tonight's event to those efforts to continue to revitalize the area and to continue to support the legacy tourism attraction here in the town of Boone. So I'd like Morena to come out here. This is a check for $2,500 to go to Horn in the West and ensure that more generations will have the same experience that we all have. Morena, thank you so much.
Thank you, David. And I can assure you this will go to good use, not just at the Horn, but we also have History Museum, Hickory Ridge, and we do a lot of educational programs there as well. So we will put this to good use. Thank you so much.
All right, so one of our favorite things about this event every year is to celebrate community. And we've got 9 award winners that we're going to recognize. Part of what we wanted to do tonight was to put this whole thing together in a way that we could tell a bit of a story. We like telling stories at the Chamber, and the story we get to tell this time around, my head's really big. That's not the story. The story that we wanted to tell this time around was about 150 years of Boone. And it was interesting in digging into this that there were so many families that are still impactful, still doing great work here in the community today, that have roots back to why this place is the way it is right now altogether. And it was so neat to find those little interwoven gems and memories that turned Boone into the community that for 150 years has stood the test of a lot of things. We have been dealt some curveballs as a community over the course of those 150 years. But it's the people here. It's the people here that always come back, that always find that way to get together, like we did during COVID, like we did in the flood of 1940, like we did so many other times where there was adversity put on our community responds. So these 9 people that you are going to meet through this presentation here tonight embody that spirit about as well as it ever could be. So please join us in recognizing our 9 Community Award winners for 2022. There is a mystique about this place, rooted in history, shaped by people, natural beauty for all to see, a unique and unspoken strength found in all that call her home. For 150 years, Boone, North Carolina has captivated, hosted, entertained, educated, and shaped the people of this region, adding a twinkle of our majestic landscape into all who cross our borders. To build community, you must educate, build foundation, harness partnerships, lead with compassion, all to sustain this place and the feeling we call home. The Boone Area Chamber of Commerce presents its 2022 Community Award winners as evidence of the ideals that have defined us for 150 years and to offer the blueprints for what we can achieve together in the next century and a half to come. Since the days of Daniel Boone, Boone has hosted people. Our hospitality defines us as one of the most desired destinations on the East Coast. The 2022 Sue W. Wilmoth Award for the Advancement of Tourism is presented by Explore Boone and goes to an educator who helps define hospitality.
If you're a professor for 31 years, starting year 32 at a place, you actually get to see how your product turns out. I want to say, though, beginning this talk, that we don't do that alone. All right, that we live in a great place that is a laboratory and incubator for hospitality, and we urge our students to work part-time in the industry here in the Boone area, and many of them do their internship here. They're learning as much from your chamber members, I can assure you, as they are from us. That old adage, it takes a village, all right? It takes all of us to produce the product that we have, but we have incubated some fantastic kids out of here that have gone on to great success. We have to be guardians of the nature, but I will share this with you. I got a phone call from an old industry guy who hadn't been in Boone in about 10 years. And he called me up on the phone and he said, you know, I was just in Boone, and I have to tell you, they have done a fabulous job of not letting the place be destroyed. He said, King Street is wonderful, all right? You don't have a bunch of chains on there. People don't go out on the road to go to places they can go to at home. How do we keep it unique? Well, look at King Street. The architecture's the same. Most of those places in there are not chains, all right? They are unique places. And we have to be guardians of that. We have to be guardians of the nature, guardians of the architecture, guardians of that unique product. In an increasingly generic world, we have to teach to not be generic, okay? That's not why people come to Boone. It's not why they go to Charleston or Savannah. They come here for that uniqueness. The uniqueness is a huge selling point. Hospitality 30 years ago was almost totally marketing based. All we worried about was putting heads in beds, all right? And can we get heads in beds and people into restaurants? And we were totally marketing focused. Did we go too far? Did we get into over-tourism? Did we begin to destroy the experience by having too many people? And so where 30 years ago, we were really marketing based, now we're going to that word management, and we have to manage this entire thing. The first people that we need to take into account are the people who are living in this destination. We can't bring so many people in that we destroy it for them.
Taking care of our own, respecting hard work, allowing our employees to shape the products that become our area's calling card. Creating an atmosphere for employees to thrive remains at the core of longtime successful businesses throughout our community, like Mass General Store, who presents another example of these traits with this year's Evergreen Award for Sustainable Development.
You've got to give your coworkers, your employees, a healthy environment to work in and a place that they want to come to every day. I think a 9-to-5 structured system just doesn't work. And more as we, learn and we deal with new generations, we're seeing that there has to be a lot of flexibility. And I know that's tough for a lot of businesses because they want to have certain structure and they don't feel like they'll be as efficient or they'll spend more money. But I look at it as having the flexibility and having a bigger time frame to get your work hours in on a daily basis keeps people healthy, keeps people happy, keeps them around longer. It just creates a better environment altogether. So I've been here 35 years, out of college, and I've loved it, every minute of it. What brought me up here was the outdoor scene, the climbing, the biking, the paddling, just everything, camping. What's kept me here is the community. The people. Without the strong relationships and the people that come together in Boone, Suga probably would not be here. You have to lead, right? You have to prove to them that they can trust you, therefore they return the favor. But just a very heavy dose of transparency and communication is crucial. Say what you do what you say. Don't back out of things that you've promised them or you want to offer them. And through that, they start to appreciate you. And there's no smoke and mirrors type game going on.
No matter how people settle in our community, if they happen to leave, they already have an eye on the return. This year's Dan Meyer Partnership Award is presented by Life Store Bank and pays tribute to all that Boonerang.
I don't know if it was before Luke Combs played or sometime around when we had first heard that he was coming back to play, and we had thought then of Eric Church, and then we started talking about, oh, hey, somebody said Derek Trucks got his GED from Watauga High, and then we started to say, oh, Michael Hauser from Widespread Panic, Wikipedia lists that he was born in Boone, and what about these bands and these bands from Boone? And then you start talking to your Boone music buddies, and they're like, oh, well, do you remember the Morning Glory Band? Or what about the, Hope Massive, remember that reggae band? And we started compiling a list of all the bands with Boone connections, and from Luke Combs and Old Crow Medicine Show, and all the way down through the singers and songwriters that we like to see at our local coffee houses and bars around Boone. It was quite an impressive list, and we were like, let's do that. We need to do something like that. People saying like, yeah, this feels right. This feels like, where's this been? We've been waiting for this. And I think that's kind of what we had, that idea that if we could put that platform out there, we're a music-loving town, we're a food-loving town, we're a outdoorsy, get-around kind of people. That's, these are things people love about the high country. And so build it and they will come, I guess. And they did, and it was great to see it come to fruition.
Community leaders have impacted our area with creativity, perspective, and action. When times are easy, they project vision. When times are tough, they embody stability. The Baker Jones Woman of the Year Award is presented by Blue Ridge Energy and Appalachian Regional Healthcare System. And our 2022 recipient helped our community cope with an abundance of change during one of our most critical periods.
My first job out of college was for an organization, a small hospital in Stokes County, and my CEO was a female. 32 years ago, that was not common, so she modeled humility and caring and a little bit of risk-taking. Had to be a risk-taker if you were going to be a female CEO in that day and age. So I carried those qualities into my professional life throughout, always staying humble, looking to take some risk, find some innovative solutions in an environment that usually just appreciated status quo. I'm a bit of a cheerleader by nature, so you know, every time we would make a decision, people would look at me and say, I don't know if that's going to work, and I would say, I believe. You know, sometimes I would fudge a little bit and say, I believe this is going to work, and it's going to work really well, even if I didn't know that was going to be the case, because I knew my team could adapt to whatever hiccup we hit along the way. And the team was just phenomenal during the COVID crisis. But I think my personality was to be a cheerleader, to listen and be present when people were severely stressed and fatigued, and let them know that this will pass, this is not going to last forever, and I'm going to be with you until the very end.
Our community is a beautiful place, and it becomes stronger and more rounded when outside perspectives are introduced. Partners that have helped us diversify our viewpoints and welcome new ideas have been among the most important in creating the spirit of an evolving culture. This year's Wade Brown Award for Community Involvement is presented by Boone Golf Club and goes to an App State professor that brought intercontinental awareness to the high country.
So the Mandela Washington Fellowship is a State Department program, the U.S. Department of State program. It was started during 2014. And the goal when it started was to develop young cadre of leaders in Africa who can spur economic prosperity and economic development, peace and security, and good governance. So that was the impetus for starting this program. And since then, more than 5,100 young leaders have come to the United States in 3 different tracks. The first track is in entrepreneurship and business, and then there's a track in public management, and the third track is leadership in civic engagement, and that's what Appalachian State University is engaged in. You know, I am from Africa myself, so I'm from where they come from, and I want to make a small contribution to the professional development of these young people. When they are here and we can help them develop in some small way, contribute in some small way, learning something, it may not be big, it may be small, but it's going to make a big impact when they go back home. It's that impact that they make. Because I go to visit them. I've visited several of them and I've seen the impact they are making in their own countries, in their own communities. That is where I draw inspiration and excitement. What we hear very often is that this is a mutual learning experience for both of them. They learn from them and the fellows learn from members of our community here. And that's what it's all about. For me, I've said many times on our campus at Appalachian State that my mission is to bring the world here to our community and to bring our community to the world. And that's happening through this kind of a program. For example, these fellows that we have are from 19 different countries in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa. Our community has been able to travel to 19 different countries without leaving our area here. That is profound.
Our welcoming nature comes from a core foundation of good people. Longtime family influences with ties to servant leadership have defined community service and remain close to the heart of the philanthropic spirit that sets us apart from the others. The Ben Settle Special Services Award recognizes an individual with a familiar name whose positive notes can be found just about everywhere.
My mother was a Farthing, my dad was a Winkler, so I was related to everybody in the county pretty much. But in particular, my granddad was so involved with, and his brothers were so involved with just building the town and developing the town and with such enthusiasm. And I just grew up with that, with my granddad here at Horn in the West. He was on the building committee, helped get the Southern Appalachian Historical Association started and worked on that. was volunteering at church. My dad would volunteer at church. Grandparents were always involved in everything around here. Granddad had first car dealership, as far as I know, and where the Horton Hotel was had a Studebaker dealership, but then they had the Ford place downtown for years. As we know, he built the Appalachian Theater, and growing up in a place, in a town where my friends and everybody's family was involved in the community. I do remember my granddad once saying, community's good to you, you have to give back to the community. And I don't think I ever consciously said, well, I'm going to do that. It just seemed to come natural. It's this town, this county, this area, the people, they've all been so good to me over the years. I've had a wonderful life of making a living, doing the things that I love with people that I love, and it's all because of how they've all treated me, whether it was the schools or the church or just the businesses around here. Everybody, when you feel that blessed, you got to give back a little. You just have to. My first job was Horn in the West, 1965, cleaning up, picking up trash and setting out chairs and just hanging out here. And at that time, I didn't know that my granddad had been involved from the very beginning. And it was my uncle on my mother's side who got me the job. And I'm still here. I mean, even when I don't work in here, I volunteer. I've always been out here. I fell in love with the play. I fell in love with the place. It was just, I believe in it. I believe in its message. I love the music, of course. Although I wasn't really involved in the music very much until the last 2 years, but so that's kind of come a big full circle since my career has been in music, and then now I'm helping Horn in the West with music. The best way to describe what Horn in the West means to me is with one word that had, it's a word that Glenn Causey, when he played Daniel Boone, used to say. He'd say, you watch the sun go down over the mountains, and you hear something, kind of like an old steer horn from the top of Grandfather Mountain, and yet it's more than that. And that's what this place is to me. It's more than that. When I'm mostly thinking about Boone, I think about my church that I grew up in, right down the corner of King and College Street. We just have a community that cares about each other and forgives you a lot too. I mean, I've certainly made my share of mistakes in my life, but you know, they still let me hang out. But this is home, and I know a lot of people now that moved here later that feel the same way, that this is now home.
While newcomers to the community have helped provide the eclectic nature that has made Boone desirable to so many over the years, one longtime family has literal ties to the foundation of this place, and their care and desire to help others has helped inform growth with a nod to our history baked inside each project. The Alfred Adams Award for Economic Development is presented by Wells Fargo and fittingly goes to a company who served as one of his own contemporaries.
Mr. W.C. Green started a company in the early 30s, 1932, I'm told. One of the only contractors in Boone. My dad was a young person at that time, and during high school and college, he worked for Mr. W.C. And there's a story behind that, but he went to NC State and worked for Mr. W.C. during the summers. World War II hit, and Dad became a CB in the United States Navy during World War II and was stationed in Guam. At the end of the war, he had a little bit of time, but then came home, and even though his degree was in highway engineering or civil engineering, there weren't many major highways in Boone, and he wanted to come home and live, and so he went back to work for Mr. W.C. And after a short period of time in 1946, he bought half the company, and Mr. W.C. was wanting to retire, so in 1947, Dad bought the rest of the company and dropped the name W.C. and kept Green Construction. And later that same year, he got our North Carolina contractor's license. So in a nutshell, it was another company prior to my father buying it in 1946 and 47. Family and caring about one another has been key to our longevity and keeping it a family-owned or family business. When I was young, I'd like to ride around my dad and just see what he was doing. In the later years after he retired and my mother passed away, he liked to ride around with me. And one of the things he'd say was, I built that, or you built this, or we've done this together. So there is a certain amount of pride that goes along with it. and care for our men, that they're out and they take pride in it. So we have employees that still use their cell phones and send everybody else pictures of what went on today. So everybody's a part of what's going on. So during this construction, I was just a little guy, maybe about 5 years old. Here recently, we had sent out an invitation to a company lunch, and they found a picture of me on the dozer at 5 years old. And that's caused more conversation around the community, but it was sitting sort of over in the bottom here on the upper side of the amphitheater. Okay, I don't remember that picture being taken, but I know that's me. The horn was a whole part of the community. It took the community coming together to actually build the Horn West, with people borrowing money themselves to put it into this facility. That same spirit doesn't relate to everybody in the community these days, but it does to many of us that have been around for the whole 70 years plus that it's been here. I can look in here and see things that my father did and some improvements we did over the years in working with the horn. The facility shows that it was built in the 50s. It's not a new facility, but it's like anything else. It takes maintenance. And if we've been a part of helping keep it up with what little funds the horn has, we're happy. And just hope that it finds a new revelation, a new place in the next 75 years.
Leaders have made their mark on Boone over 150 years. The vision of early influencers has helped serve as motivation for the leaders of today. To preserve the integrity of all that make this place special, we keep an eye on the future. Leaders who thrive on looking out for the interests of others make our community stronger by providing opportunity and inclusivity through the touch of a helping hand. It's our honor tonight to announce that our annual award for community leadership will now take the name of one of Boone's most beloved leaders, an inspiration to all she has touched, whose generosity will live inside the hearts and minds of decision makers for years to come. Tonight, we are proud to present this award in the name of Elizabeth Young. The recipient of this year's Community Leadership Honor works daily to personify Boone's longtime commitment to the importance of education and the impact that can come when placing belief and support behind the next generation. Berkshire Hathaway's Home Services Vincent Properties presents the 2022 Elizabeth Young Award for Community Leadership.
For me, I can't think about my leadership role without thinking about everybody else who joins me in that role. And so, like when I reflect back on everything that WIN has been able to do, it seems like it's gone from, just a couple of people knowing about us and caring about us and being invested to an entire community. And so, if you use the Jim Collins principle of the flywheel, it's kind of like gradually a couple more people have been getting on and jumping on board, and that turning happens so much more easily now than it did. And so, I think that just gives me hope for where we're going in the future and how much more WIN will be able to accomplish when we're able to get even more community buy-in. And we've got some things on the horizon that we're very excited about, and it's only going to happen with the investment of the community. But I feel like we've been able to do a lot with children, and I've watched the progression of WIN. It's been huge in the past few years, and that means that as we grow, our impact is that much greater on children through after school and mentoring and substance abuse prevention and everything we're doing. We just kind of keep snowballing. We have been there looking out for the people that everyone else might be overlooking. And I know that while Boone does look out for everybody and we care about everybody, we try to notice everybody, I feel like in our hustle and our busyness of trying to raise our own families, there could be a group of children and families who would just inevitably get overlooked. And so I feel like that's kind of been WIN's specialty this whole time, is looking out for the families who just need a little extra push to be able to reach their potential. When you think about some of the circumstances that our children and families are put in through no fault of their own, they just naturally have more obstacles than the rest of us have. And so therefore they need a little bit more support to get to where the rest of us are. And so I really feel like that's been WIN's role all along. And I feel like at certain times in our trajectory, we've had to ask ourselves, do we go broader or do we go deeper? And we've always chosen to just go deeper with our chosen population. How many more ways can we impact this group of people rather than having a more broad community-based impact? I think it's relationships. I really do feel like it sounds cliche, but everything comes down to relationships. Making sure that people feel like they are a genuine and sincere part of your organization, and that they have a meaningful role to play, and that they stay in touch. And they know what's going on. They feel a part of things. And also I just believe in being a little bit different. You know, sometimes I'll go to community meetings and everybody will be giving their nonprofit spiel, and I just feel like I want to make mine slightly different. And so, you know, I think it's a combination of doing something that makes you a little different and makes you stand out, and then also, you know, just really diving into the relationships and making sure people feel engaged and a part of things.
The foundation of our community, built long ago, helps people have life and prosper here. Engaging important conversations to ensure our residents can thrive will only help build stability for the workforce of tomorrow. Beach Mountain Resort presents this year's Kathy Crutchfield Citizen of the Year Award to the ultimate organizer, who seeks to improve one of our community's most important needs.
We first wanted to learn who was doing housing, who was doing income, who was doing community center work in the community. And so we started talking to people who've been involved with those issues, particularly housing, for 20, 30 years, and started finding out what's currently being done, what are the issues that are out there. And what we learned was there was incredible desire to address the housing crisis in our community, that there was a lot of disparity in terms of who had access to information. Nonprofit organizations in our community had access to community members who've had some horrible negative lived housing experiences, but that information didn't always get disseminated to the larger community. And we also learned that there were some incredible opportunities as well as data available on housing, but those again weren't always disseminated to all parts of the community. You had a lot of folks in government as well as on planning groups that had access to that information, but not everybody had it. And so even before we decided to try to address the issue of housing with development of potentially another nonprofit, we thought we first need to make sure that we actually help to disseminate that information across our community, and that we don't have any barriers to who gets to hear that information. When it comes to the wicked problem of housing, and this is a problem that's being encountered across our country, that if there's any place that can move the needle on this wicked problem, I feel like it's going to be Boone and Watauga. That we have the motivation, we have the people with incredible diverse expertise and experiences. We have reciprocal relationships already formed in this community. We have a desire to see the common good achieved. And so it's been incredibly easy for me to continue staying with it, because every day I continue to be motivated by those I get to meet with and learn about what they're doing and how I can be a part of helping that vision along. It never comes down to me as one person. There are so many people who've been a part of this effort all along, and all of those people bring their own assets, their own strengths, their own gifts to the table. And so I don't ever think that there is one person who's going to ever have all the answers. And so sometimes I might be focused on that little detail, but then someone else has the vision to see we need to be addressing something like this 5 years down the road in terms of how we set this up. And that's what's been so exciting, is that it's just a very generative process in learning from one another and using the strengths of one another to move forward. This is home for us. This place is special. It's special in the people, it's special in the environment and what we get to live and be surrounded by every time of year. And when I think of all of the complex issues around us in this world and all of the difficult things we've had to endure, including a global pandemic, a place where we can actually remain committed to one another, where we can make a difference in the lives of all of our community members, I feel is here in Boone and Watauga. And I'm so excited to continue to do this work and to get to live and be in relationship with the people here.
So will all of our community award winners come on down to The Price is Right. And we will take your picture briefly on the stage, and we will go on. And we'll also give everyone a big round of applause once they are gathered on stage or in advance. Omer, you're on it. Thank you for that round of applause and standing ovation. Return to your seats. Thank you. So this is the time in our program where it gets a little dangerous. First off, I'm going off script, which is always dangerous. And second of all, get to introduce two of my dearest friends. So I texted them earlier today and I said, hey guys, is there anything you want me to include with your introduction this evening? I followed up with, how about what would you like for me to exclude from your introduction this evening? And I got two appropriate responses. One from Chuck Eiler was a no response. Typically he sends 4 or 5 emojis with no context and no words. I didn't even get that. But Lane Robinson responded with, just know when you leave the stage, you're leaving us with a hot microphone. So that's all the introduction they get. Here I'm going to introduce Chuck Eiler with the Peak Insurance Group and Lane Robinson of Creekside Electronics as they introduce our keynote speaker for tonight. Come on out, guys.
To be honest, I had no idea that he was actually going to follow through with the Milli Vanilli joke and do the dance, and some things you just can't unsee, so we apologize on behalf of our friend.
Yeah. First of all, if you could please silence your cell phones. Ellen, Harold, please silence your cell phone right now.
She knew we were going to pick on her. All right, tonight we've celebrated people and talked about projects and businesses that make Boone unique. As important as it is to celebrate that history, it's equally critical that we think about what comes next and how we as a community are investing in places like Daniel Boone Amphitheater, Horn in the West, the Appalachian Theater, the Middle Fort Greenway, High Country Food Hub, the Howard Street Project, and countless other examples of things that we have that are unique to us and attributes that we must be careful to protect and preserve for future generations to come.
Our keynote speaker is a subject matter expert on community investment, and even more so, what this type of exercise could mean for our community. 52 years ago, a family moved into the house across from Winkler's Creek from me. In that family was a tow-headed kid my same age. We became best friends and brothers. We had our first job selling Horn in the West souvenir programs for only $1. We got paid 5 cents for every program that we sold. Our boss was Billy Ralph Winkler. And his boss was our speaker's dad, Terry Hamilton, who is here tonight. Hey, Pop. Spending parts of this formative years in the high country also sparked a professional career path that has led to our speaker being known as one of the top economic development minds in the country.
I want to point out that Lane made his font bigger, and we left mine the same. So he said, "You're a young guy." A graduate of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, my alma mater, he received an additional training and a certification in economic development from the University of North Carolina School of Government and Georgia Tech. He served in leadership roles with the various county and regional economic development organizations in North Carolina, and in 2014 was named the executive director of the Appalachian Regional Commission, where he led a staff of more than 55 to invest nearly $675 million in various economic development projects. In 2019, he was named as the third president of the Golden Leaf Foundation. In 2021, Golden Leaf invested $15.2 million in Northwest North Carolina through its community-based grants initiative, which helped leverage millions more for important economic development projects.
Tonight, we welcome the former Horn in the West fire dancer. Yeah, he wore a loincloth. I tried to get him to wear it tonight, but he said no. With a heart the size of a mountain, for a place he once called home. Ladies and gentlemen, my brother, Scott Hamilton.
Thank you. Thank you. How are y'all this evening? All right, what a great evening. Just fabulous. So, you know, when it may be raining outside, but we're inside. We'll talk a little bit about that, but that's the nature. If you're going to try to do something outside, you better have a good plan B, right? And what a great plan B tonight. I sent David a note the other night when he sent a note about the change, and I said the hallmark's going to be is that nobody out here recognizes really the difference of the shift other than it's inside, that it went smooth. And it has truly been that duck floating calmly on top of the water and paddling like hell underneath to make it work. So congratulations to David and his team again. Let's give them a round of applause. And I want to thank David, Dr. Benoit. Congratulations on achieving the most esteemed title, Immediate Past Chair. We strive for the chairmanship, and then as soon as we get it, we strive for immediate past chair. So, and Chair Freeman, I wish you the best as you move forward with the Boone Area Chamber of Commerce and continuing the vital work of the chamber. David Jackson, thank you for the opportunity. I'm very honored. I look out here and I see the number of other people that could be standing here tonight and recognize that and thank him for this opportunity. And John Cooper, I saw him earlier. I want to thank him because as the work on this theater started, he reached out and invited me to come in because he knew my history, that Lane and I came here and watched movies as kids. And we watched movies up in the balcony. We watched movies down here. It was a single theater. We watched movies when it was the Appalachian Twin with the movie theater up top in the balcony and this one here. And so he knew I'd like to see it, and I got to walk in before anything happened to it. And then he invited me back when it was gutted. And then I got to come and see one of the first shows was, I didn't get to see the first show, John McEwen, but we did, my wife and I and my dad, and got to see a show, the Waylon Jennings here, and now being able to attend an event here tonight is great. I also have to say my wife is here, and I am a romantic, and I met my wife in Boone, and so I took her to a movie for our first date. We sat up in the balcony, and I took her to the best movie that you can take a person to on a first date, Stephen King's Cujo. If you don't know that movie, it's a psychopathic killer dog that gets rabies and starts killing its family. We even had a second date, so, well, but she's not up there tonight. She's down here. So anyway, I am thrilled. I also want to recognize, too, I talk about Golden Leaf and the work that we do very entrepreneurially. And when we talk about funding projects, I don't talk about grants, I talk about funding projects because we expect a return on that investment. Because once we fund a project, we have to be accountable back to our funders. Our funders want to know how many jobs have been created, how much money was leveraged, and how did that project move the economic needle. And our funders are the North Carolina General Assembly, and I want to thank the members that are here tonight. I know Senator Heiss is here. I'm not sure. I think Representative Pickett was planning to try to come, and so was Senator Ballard, but I'm not sure if they've made it back or not. But I want to thank all of the members of the General Assembly for the support of the Golden Leaf Foundation. I also have a colleague with me tonight that does a lot of the coordination. She's our Vice President and Chief of Staff of the Golden Leaf Foundation, is Casey Ginsburg. And if you're not familiar with the Golden Leaf Foundation, we are the Long-Term Economic Advancement Foundation. LEAF is the acronym for that. And we were established in 1999 by the Master Settlement Agreement that 40 states had in suing cigarette manufacturers. And our mission as a foundation, when North Carolina set up the foundation, was to help tobacco-dependent, rural, and distressed communities across North Carolina with economic opportunity and prosperity. So that's how we focus our work. The only state out of those 40 that created an economic development foundation to assure its communities to be economically prosperous was North Carolina in 1999. But I am honored to be here tonight. It's an amazing evening. We're supposed to be at Horn tonight. And it's kind of odd to stand up here in a suit if I'm talking about Horn in the West. Because this is what I wore. So that was my costume when I was in Horn in the West. We're going to take that off right now before somebody can get a picture of it. So that was 45 years ago, believe it or not. So I think you all are very appreciative with this 60-year-old body. I'm wearing a coat and tie. But I am joined tonight. My dad is here, as we talked about, Terry Hamilton. He's joined with his friend, Margaret Simon. In many ways, my dad is the reason that I'm here tonight. Dad worked at Horn in the West, as Lane talked about many years ago, and got me involved with it. But this is my dad. In about 1976, there was an unticketed guest at the show that evening, and if you look up, that's the stage, and it's actually during a performance, and the dog would not let anybody past it, going down or coming back up the steps, so the people on this side of the theater couldn't go up to the bathroom or do something. So Dad actually has a dog biscuit. He's trying not to be conspicuous as the play is going on, but he is also trying to lure this dog away so it doesn't get up on stage and maybe chase the doctor or the actors off of it. So many stories that so many of us could tell you about things that have happened at Horn, and I want to talk a little bit about it. I'm going to talk more about the value of Horn in the West, the Southern Appalachian Historical Association, and the Hickory Ridge Homestead to Boone and the economy. But I think it is great that we're here tonight celebrating 150 years of doing business with Boone, and we're in Boone, for Boone, and the Chamber's 73rd annual meeting. Mom and Dad got me involved in Horn in the West when I was really young. I started out, as Lane mentioned, he and I both started out selling programs as a kid, and he was not kidding. We made a nickel off of every program that we sold. But I want to tell you this, is that the attendance when we were growing up was significantly different. By the end of one of those summers when I sold programs for a nickel, at the end of that summer, I went and bought a black and white 12-inch television for $70. And that was 50% of what I had made that year, because my parents made me put 50% of all my earnings into savings. And they said I could do whatever I wanted with the other. I wanted a TV. So now imagine to be able to spend $70 probably in the late 60s, early 70s on a 12-inch black and white TV. It actually lasted about 15, 20 years as well, so they don't make it like they used to. But as I got older, I went on to work in various roles, including being the stage manager, an actor, and the house manager, along with being the fire dancer, where you saw that picture. My involvement with Horn in the West is one of my earliest life lessons of the importance of collaboration. Each night I witnessed everyone play their part to contribute to the success of the production. It was also an early lesson in resilience. For all the things that have changed as I have grown up, there have been many of that, and I can tell you. But one thing has not, and one thing is the constant, and that's Horn in the West. My dad worked at Horn. My daughters, my wife, they spent their summers working there. My grandsons have seen the show, and soon my granddaughter that will be born any minute. And if she can be born before Saturday when the show closes, she's going to see the show. So as I mentioned, also I'm joined here with, this evening with my wife, who I met at Horn in 1984. So as you can tell, Horn means a lot to me. Three generations of Hamiltons have been part of Horn in the West, and yet my family story is far, far from unique. The Winklers, the Davises, the Goodmans, the Cooks, the Clausens, the Fannons, the Spinks, and so many, many other families have similar stories. In fact, I think that's what the Stallings, the Browns, the Winklers, the Marshes, the Greers, the Greens, the Robins, the Whiteners, the Triplets, and many, many, many other families had in mind when they set out to start an outdoor drama in Boone. All those decades later, most of those original founders are probably no longer with us, but their legacy lives on through this theater and the generations that have followed. The origin of Horn in the West is really not unusual. In fact, it's a story we see across all of North Carolina. People wanting to preserve the legacy of their communities. We've seen a lot of these pictures. I'm trying to, As folks know that know me, one of my favorite sayings is, technology is great when it works. Well, all right. Well, there's supposed to be the cover of the program of a pageant. Well, that's not it. That's not it. Yeah, the fog is rolling in. Be careful. I don't know. It's got a mind of its own because it keeps going back and forth, and I'm only pushing it backwards and it keeps going forward. However, there is up there, believe me, a cover of the original pageant that was to celebrate Watauga County's centennial in 1949 called Echoes of the Blue Ridge. Well, guess what happened in the summer of 1949? On the weekend, they were going to present Echoes of the Blue Ridge. It rained. Seem familiar? So in 1950, they took the rest of that year to work on the pageant, and they produced an outdoor pageant called Echoes of the Blue Ridge. Following that, that was the catalyst to develop an annual historical drama in Boone. And now, tonight, more than 70 years later, we find ourselves asking what can be done to restore the legacy of, and I'm not even touching it. My hand, there it is. I wasn't even touching it. I had my, okay. So anyway, that is the cover. Now, so what can be done to help restore the legacy? Heard Mr. Green talk about it as well tonight. But what Boone had was a story and a story to tell. So a small group of dedicated people led by Constance Stallings set out to see what could be done about telling it. I compare long-term economic, I'm not touching it, I'm putting it down, I'm not, okay. I compare, and that's Constance Stallings and Billy Ralph, is that your grandfather? No? Do we know who that is? No. Mr. Harris, is that Stanley Harris? Okay, Stanley Harris and Constance Stallings are on the site, and they're picking, Wade Brown picked out the spot, and they're taking a look at it. But I see, my hands are, I compare long-term economic advancement to cathedral building. Someone has to start it, and many need to work on it for a vision to be fulfilled and for that vision to be carried forward. All along the journey were those probably saying it wouldn't work, or it was too big of an idea. And yet, with the right partners at the table and a vision and a strategy, this dedicated group of people made Horn in the West a reality. So in August of 1951, the organizing group from Boone made an 11.5-hour journey down to Manteo. How long does it take you to get to Manteo today? If you can imagine an 11.5-hour trip down to Manteo to visit the outdoor drama down there, the Lost Colony. Our fearless travelers faced adverse conditions, rough roads, a lack of plumbing, heat, humidity, and mosquitoes. But for every good strategy first begins with taking an inventory of your own assets and then evaluating what others have done with similar assets. When you look at what others have done, I call this R&D, rip off and duplicate. If it works, look at what they're doing. Now, I may be biased and it may be raining a little bit tonight, but here we are in August on a cool summer evening in Boone, and I can't think of many other places I'd rather be. So upon their return from Manteo, the group of travelers concluded that if 50,000 people a year would suffer through the conditions that they faced, then surely a similar number would travel to Boone to see an outdoor drama. But yet this group wasn't satisfied simply to cut and paste. They declared, we can do better than that. And they set out to raise funds for the amphitheater and work with a playwright to develop the story. By April of 1952, the nonprofit, the Southern Appalachian Historical Association, had raised $75,000. 1952, they raised I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to try to figure it out here. Anyway, in today's, well, I'm going to get you to see all the pictures and then we'll talk about them later. How's that? So, anyway, in 52, they raised $75,000 to help get Horn started. Do you know how much money that is in today's dollars? $800,000. By the way, the population of Boone in 1952 was about 3,000 people. Now, the nonprofit developed a fundraising strategy that involved selling bonds to raise funds from throughout the community. That strategy further strengthened the involvement of the community in turning this idea about an outdoor drama into reality. Many Boone residents today still have copies of bonds that were sold to help start up and do the construction of the amphitheater. The site on the Winkler property was selected by Wade Brown in December of 1951. The groundbreaking and construction of the theater started in March of 1952. Dr. Kermit Hunter was finishing writing the script, auditions were held, and the cast was set. About 3 months after the groundbreaking, opening night was June 27th, 1952. With the support of the local community, the businesses, local leaders, everyone coming together, they launched what would be sustained long after their involvement, and opening night was just the start. This short timeline is truly a testament. 3 months from when they picked the site, or from when they did the groundbreaking at the site to opening night, is truly a testament for what can happen when determined people get together. And also, it does not help that construction permits were probably not the same then as they are today. And I would love to be able to, let's see if we can get it to work, but some of the pictures of Horn in the amphitheater, you've seen them from other presentations, and I've had them up here tonight. The amphitheater had a rain shelter that spanned the whole cross of the top of the theater. That rain shelter is not there anymore. When they built the theater to seat about 2,100 to 2,200 people. I remember as a kid coming in on weekends, Lane and I would go in during the day to pop popcorn, to put popcorn in the warming bins, because there were so many people, it was not feasible to try to keep up with all the popcorn to pop it in the evening. We had concession stands were built down in the theater. We had a concession stand at the top of the theater. And I'd be pointing all this out if it was up there, so. Right to Sheldon's ear, there was a concession stand. I keep seeing it blink, I think it's changing. But when you look at Horn today, it is in need of much help. But I want to talk about Horn in the West is also, if you're not, how many people have seen Horn in the West? Excellent. So Horn in the West is the story of the American Revolution in North Carolina through a fictional family with major historical leaders like Daniel Boone, Judge Henderson, and William Tryon. The show centers on a family, the Stewart family, who are on opposite sides of the Revolutionary War, with the father loyal to the crown and the son fighting for the colonies. The intent of the show is to depict the history of the struggles during the American Revolution, but also to tell the story of resilience and to inspire those who experienced the show. So after its launch in 1952, Horn in the West went on to have many successful seasons in the decades to follow. And here, check out the crowd. We'll go back to, remember that one picture of the program? And it had all those people in it? Well, that I will have to tell you, in truth and in full disclosure, was a photo op. They invited people from ASU, they invited students, they invited the town. They wanted to do some publicity shots. So it wasn't an actual show that evening. It was to stage photographs. And over here, there was a man standing on the side of the stage taking the picture. But what that meant was it may not have been a true audience to see a full show that evening, but when Horn asked the community to turn out, 1,800 to 2,000 people showed up to be in a picture. It's incredible to think about the thousands of people who have experienced this show over the years. But this was not possible without the tremendous community investment and involvement. You saw up there a Trailways bus that said "See Horn in the West." Every Trailways bus that entered Boone the first summer, no matter where it was coming from, was branded with "See Horn in the West." Trailways did not need to do that. They could have put anything on the side of that bus, but they chose to invest in Horn in the West. Signs throughout town meant that everyone passing through knew of the show. The involvement of the involvement of the local community meant that the personal networks and families, and that every person that interacted with a cast, crew, or a staff member of the show had been impacted by the production. Local hotel owners would buy tickets to resell or to give to their guests. Businesses across Boone donated time, talent, and resources, and they continue to be key partners in the long-term success and sustainability of the show. This early outreach and engagement with the community and visitors led to lasting generational impact. Coming to the theater to see Horn in the West became a part of vacation plans for many travelers and annual family traditions. Parents brought their children, who grew up to have children to bring. And year after year, the influence grew. The NFL Hall of Fame football coach, Don Shula, and his family had their family reunion and gathered at Horn at least 3 to 4 years in a row. Actor Beau Bridges and his family came to see the show. On a rainy night, much like tonight, there was probably 50 to 75 people in the audience. He and his wife and their kids, who bought a coonskin cap and a little wood rifle, watched the show, went down on stage afterwards, and greeted everybody. The value of Horn in the West to Boone is more than just the show. The sheer number of people that have come through, bringing them to Boone, the networks developed, the relationships made, stretch far beyond the town limits. There are countless cast, crew, and staff alumni who have left to continue on in roles both in and out of theater across the country and internationally. One of my favorite shows, oh, The Big Bang. Look at that, I got right to it. Can you imagine how cool it was to be watching The Big Bang Theory and have Sheldon talk about Horn in the West? So right after their apartment was broken into, Sheldon wanted to leave California, and he was searching for a new place to go. He started picking places out on the map. And lo and behold, he says, Boone, North Carolina. Every summer since '52, Boone has hosted an outdoor amphitheater portrayal of the life and times of his namesake, Daniel Boone. Long pause. Sounds like something that would attract the wrong crowd. And here he is Xing off Boone. But how did this happen? Someone in the writer's room had experienced or had been a part of Horn in the West. Barry Corbin, who starred in the TV show Northern Exposure, and more recently on a couple of episodes of Yellowstone, played Judge Henderson many, many years ago at Horn in the West. Just a few weeks ago, over 70 Horn alumni showed up for a reunion on a Sunday evening, traveling from other states to spend time at the theater with all of those that were currently a part of the show and alumni from other years that they either knew folks or they got to meet family members they had never met that had been in the show before. This demonstrates what we know to be true, and Bill Winkler mentioned, and others have talked about as well. For those of us that are engaged in the show, it sticks with us. After more than 70 years, this show is part of Boone. In fact, Horn has been around for almost 50% of the time that Boone has been a town. As Brian Fannin, and I think he was planning on being here tonight, I'm not sure if Brian is here. I'm sorry to hear that. Brian was very helpful in helping me find some information on this. But in a recent presentation about Horn, Brian said Horn in the West and Hickory Ridge Homestead are now part of Boone's history. Constance Stallings and the other founders set out with an audacious goal to bring national recognition to the town of Boone and to honor the history and the legacy before it slipped away. Over the years, the offerings at Horn in the West extended to include the Hickory Ridge Living History Museum. But attendance of the show has declined from competing evening entertainment opportunities and now faces other challenges such as housing for cast members and much needed maintenance and repair. After launching in 1950, the show has experienced many ups and downs. The production has endured through multiple financial struggles and now an unprecedented global pandemic. But those of us that live in the mountains, we're used to overcoming challenges. As the first tourist destination in Boone, Horn in the West is a vital component of the town's economic development strategy. A small group of dedicated individuals collaborated from the beginning to build this legacy, and collaboration will be critical to sustain it for another 70 years. And now tonight, more than 70 years later, we find ourselves asking a similar question. What can be done to restore the legacy of Horn in the West? How do we modernize our strategy to communicate the value of the production has on the economy? How do we collaborate with other businesses to increase the awareness of the production and all the show and the museum have to offer? And I'll also pause here and tell a little story about this wouldn't be the first time Horn in the West pivoted because of modernizing circumstances. In 1969, when man first walked on the moon, the production stopped the show that evening, rolled out TVs into the theater so that the audience could participate and witness history together. I understand the show didn't end until 1 o'clock in the morning, but the audience stayed to watch the whole thing. To paraphrase Constance Stallings as we talk about what we can do, so how can we do better than this? Well, if you're a local business owner, I challenge you to find additional ways to get involved to promote Horn in the West and Hickory Ridge Homestead. If you're a current member of the Southern Appalachian Historical Association, the producing nonprofit, increase your membership level and encourage others to join. If you're not a member, join now. If you're already involved in the show or with the show, I challenge you to find more partners to get involved. Put a sign in your front window, in your storefront window, or in your hotel lobby. Buy tickets that you can give to your customers or use as performance-based awards for your employees. Purchase advertisements in the show's program. With the support of the state and local elected leaders, the businesses in town, and the entire community, the horn will blow for another 70 years. I want to thank David, the Chamber, for this great opportunity. I also would like to again offer congratulations to the Chamber for its 73rd annual meeting, to the town of Boone for reaching the milestone of 150 years of doing business. I look forward to what comes next from each of you, and I want to thank you again, and I hope you all have a great night.
So let me tell you about what happens backstage when the production crew starts to fight the presentation that the presenter is also trying to fight. We tried to get all the slides in there, but Scott, the good news is that our good friend Lane Robinson owns an electronics company, so we'll see if we can find him later. All right, we're going to give this a shot here and see what we can do to talk a little bit about what the Chamber's got going on here as we close down our evening. We've got two final presentations for you. I do want to, again, take a moment to thank our staff for tonight. If you can give them one more round of applause. You know, we have had a little bit of transition here. Wisteria White, I know she might be in the audience here tonight, but Wisteria was such a big part of our organization. 19 years with the Chamber. She's already doing great things at Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina right there on Howard Street. And to have someone with the institutional memory and all that Wisteria did for us leave, it was very difficult to think about how we would replace that. I can't be more proud of our board and our staff for the commitment to give us the resources that we needed to replace Wisteria with, like 2-3 people. But those new faces bring fresh perspective as well, and I think it's been fun for us to understand too that as we open our eyes through new eyes, new opportunities come across our desk that we might not have previously considered. So it's been a good transition in that regard. I feel you now, Scott. All right. So we at the Chamber have worked hard to stay plugged into economic conditions throughout the course of the year. The picture down to the left is the Watauga Housing Forums, now that's led into the Watauga Housing Council. Can't be more excited about how energized our community is to have what is a very difficult conversation. Nobody that attended the Housing Forums thought that we were going to go through 4 sessions, eat some great food from Farm Cafe and Stick Boy Kitchen, and get it all figured out. All right, but what we have done is brought more faces to the table that have never been there before, and we've re-energized the people that have been battling the same conversation for decades. We're all together now as part of that Watauga Housing Council, and I'm excited to see where this work takes us. Now that there are committees that are forming to look at new strategies that could be brought into our community from other areas in North Carolina or perhaps other jurisdictions outside our state's borders, it takes everybody examining things to bring the right idea to the table to move the needle in the issue that will move all other needles. We can't think about solving any other economic challenge that we've got until we figure out how to allow people to live in the town where they work. And this group is very, very dedicated to that. Labor It's an issue. I know it's an issue for all of you, and it will continue to be an issue, unfortunately, for a while now. One of the things we've tried to do is look at different ways that we can package the job opportunities that we have. So the High Country is hiring. Workforce Wednesdays have become a thing for us. We encourage you to share those job openings with us. We also encourage, as you interact with us, to really think about the workplace conditions, that workforce culture that is so important to retention, and what you can do inside your businesses now to keep the top talent that you've got coming into your place every day, feeling like they are a part of that larger conversation. It's an important part of how we're going to continue to work through the challenge that we have now by just simply keeping people a part of what is going on a daily basis. And when you do have to hire, please know that the Chamber is one of many resources here in the community that can help with that. Finally, keep Boone healthy. That has been our mantra. We've been banging that drum almost as long as Horn in the West has been around, it feels like here. It's been a long 2.5 years. One of the things that we have done with Keep Boone Healthy, though, we knew that bringing this forward was going to allow us to have messaging that meant different things along the way. So while Keep Boone Healthy was the way that we tried to keep people informed about COVID-19 and all of the different changes that we saw so fast there, we're still going to allow for some of that messaging from time to time. But now we're talking about the sustainability of our community, the long-term viability of making sure that we don't mortgage everything that we love about this place for the next shiny new thing down the street. It's about trying to find out ways that we can conserve energy, we can energize staff, we can bring those workforce conditions and workforce wellness to the forefront, but we can make sure that that uniqueness that we've all talked about here tonight in a variety of ways stays alive and stays part of our everyday operation. Sustainability is about more than green. That's a huge part of it, and we're proud to work along several partners in the community that are helping make sure that our community leads when it comes to preserving our natural resources, because our natural resources are everything. That's why we're here, that's why people want to come here, and we as a community need to be committed to keeping Boone healthy and knowing that that means as much about our future as it does about our present. As we look at other workforce conditions, we have renewed partnerships here with My Future NC, the High Country Workforce Development Board, App Healthcare. Those of you that attended Vision Northwest North Carolina, we brought an awfully uplifting speaker to talk about demographic drought. And if you were there, you know that I'm completely kidding when I say that he was uplifting. He gave us some grim statistics. But we have to deal with the fact that we've got a declining labor force. We have to think outside the box about where we're getting these people from. So one of the things that we have begun working with a number of community partners is recovery-friendly initiatives, looking at different populations that may be chronically unemployed. It may be because of incarceration, a physical disability. It could be that they just have not, for whatever reason, had the luck to hold on to a job. As we look at less people going into our higher education institutions, less people being born in the next several years, where are we going to find the people that will define how we run businesses for a community that hosts people? It's looking at new opportunities to engage folks that are looking to get back into the labor force. They have gone through struggles themselves, and they're looking for that helping hand. So we'll be talking a lot about recovery friendly. That will become one of our buzzwords here, or buzz phrases, over the next several months and years to come. My Future NC talks about degree attainment. It's not necessarily always just about a 4-year degree. We have got an incredibly strong community college program here in Caldwell Community College and Technical Institute. We've got a CTE program at Watauga High School, and a great opportunity for our high school students to walk out of their doors with, in some cases, an associate's degree before they ever think about what that next academic step may look like. That makes it more affordable for them, and that opens up new opportunities for things like trades, healthcare, and some of those critical services that we know are important to our community. So as we think about those workforce things, engage with us as we look for new strategies to help bring along opportunities that will help us make sure that we have the people we need to do the jobs that we do have. From an economic development standpoint, there are 4 key areas of emphasis for economic development in this community. Outdoor economy is certainly one of those. We all know that. We live it and breathe it every day. That's not only recreation, though. That does include manufacturing. Businesses like Suga, who is honored tonight, help us make products that people use in the backyard where they use them. Arts and culture. The Boonerang experience was tremendous. The Watauga County Arts Council is doing some great things to bring new crowds of people here to enjoy things like an Appalachian summer. Concerts here at the theater and theatrical performances, Horn in the West. We can go on and on down that way. But we know that arts and culture is important to our community and something that we can use as an economic development strategy. Technology, incredibly important in this as well. Thinking about, again, businesses like Suga, ECR software that are unique to this area and want their staffs to be here. Why is it that they find this place so refreshing? It's the quality of life that we've been able to bake into their situation. So we want to continue to encourage that. But like I said before, it's all going to come back down to housing. We have to get this problem solved. We've got to start taking the steps in that direction. So again, we know that we're not asking people to live counties away to come to work for us in service sector jobs and other jobs that aren't really motivated by huge prices at the pump and difficulty in getting to work. So we're going to continue to work in those areas as we also get ready for an exciting new partnership with Watauga County that we'll be talking about in the next several weeks as it relates to economic development. So stay tuned for that. Our future is a bright one as a community. It's one that we have invested a lot of time in this last year at the Chamber. We're going to talk here in just a moment about our new headquarters of the future. We will continue to be the bridge in our community, just like the Mile High Swinging one. Hopefully we're not as suspended as high in the air, but we're going to continue to be that bridge bringing organizations together. We love that work. We thrive within that work. And knowing that sometimes we have disagreements here in this community, but when we all sit around the same table, generally we all have the same ideals in our hearts and in our work, that we want things to be better for the next generation of folks here in the community. We want to lead important conversations like Vision Northwest North Carolina. We're going to continue to convene throughout the year. What's our next Mass General store? What's our next ECR software? What's the next Suga? There's a story out there of a business that's ready to take off. How can we promote them? How can we support that growth to put us on the map, like Scott tried to show a minute ago? To put us on the map again for a quality reason, right? We know there are a lot of great things that are going on here now. How can we as an organization help support those efforts? And then it all really kind of comes back down to what we've learned during COVID. We knew that our organization needed to modify itself a little bit because you told us you needed different things. You needed different areas of support. In this work from home kind of sort of way that we are right now, you needed a place to check your email when you got stuck in the traffic over there on the Winklers Creek Bridge construction, which is done. How about that? 4 o'clock yesterday. You need somewhere to be. You need a place that you can call home. So we are designing our headquarters that we are so excited to show you later this fall with you, the member, in mind. A place where you can convene, a place where you can come and check that email, a place that you can easily access our staff. You can park. There are no scary stairwells anymore. You can get to us, and we can help you with whatever that next challenge is. We've had a fun time here over the last several weeks unveiling to you the road home, and that is the map, the physical map of how we got to the place that we are soon going to be calling home on Greenway Road from our old place down on West King Street. It's been a journey. It's been one that has involved a number of you. We have been member-centric in our focus for contractors and subcontractors and designers and anybody that could partner with us in this facility. We wanted those to be chamber members helping us write the next chapter of our history. One of those is here tonight to show you inside that new facility. We are proud to work alongside his company every day now, about 3 phone calls a day it seems like, but we know that 444 Construction has got our best interests in mind. Please welcome to the stage President and owner of 444 to give you a quick tour, Mr. Kevin Troyer.
Thank you, sir. Good evening. The Boone Chamber really sets the standard and raises the bar on what collaboration is. And I'm always very, very impressed at how David and his team find win-win, mutually beneficial circumstances. So when we had the opportunity to serve the collaborators, we were quite honored for the the opportunity to be considered for that. So we'd like to give you a sneak peek at what's coming up and what the new home for the Boone Chamber will look like here soon.
Hi everybody, I'm Adrian Tate with Sketchline Architecture in 444, and today we're taking a tour of the new Boone Area Chamber of Commerce office space. As you can see, the space is under construction right now with electrical getting worked on this week, and we've got a large open work environment for chamber members to be able to come in and actually use this space while they're in Boone. Behind me you can see some offices where the chamber team will be accessible and available to chamber members. We'll have open seating areas where chamber members can park and have a cup of coffee and discuss their business needs with the chamber team. Here's our new front reception counter. This is a very exciting space. We've used some really interesting local materials with the help of our interior design team at 444. We're going to punch a new main entrance here into this wall, which will be accessible from the parking lot. This is another new open work area where you can park your laptop and check email as you come into the space. We've got a coffee bar area back behind here where food service for meetings and so on can happen, and a large open passageway. So really accessible to be able to move around the space and use it how you need as you're making a visit here. Now we enter into our large main meeting space where we'll have a large wall of glass here, doors that come in. Imagine Chamber Board of Directors meetings here, lunch and learns, educational seminars, and various meetings throughout the year. Coming back out into this main open workspace, you can see how this is just going to be a nice place to hang out with a cup of coffee or your laptop and do some work while you're here in town. And we are looking forward to the construction this summer as we are working towards a grand opening this fall. We're looking forward to seeing everybody here at the new space soon.
I'm glad you like it, and we look forward to you experiencing it in person soon. We'd like to invite you into this process. And one of the ways, well, there's two ways to do that. One is you can go online and vote on a piece of art that'll be there on the main wall that you'll see when you come in. We'd love to get your perspective on what your preference is on 3 options of art. Another thing we'd like to do is, I'm always very pleasantly surprised at the amount of work and initiatives that the chamber staff is able to accomplish with the minimal amount of staff and resources that they have. It's amazing what all happens, David, with you and your team of board of directors and 7 or 8 staff members. I think it's remarkable. And we'd like to be able to say thank you and express authentic gratitude for the chamber for the way that they serve our community. We'd like to do this very much through the lens of a rising tide raises all boats. So we'd like to ask if you could write an expression of gratitude. We'll have there's a table as you're leaving that we have pieces of paper where you can write an expression of gratitude to the chamber staff for what they do to serve our community. There's also a QR code that you can scan, take with you, and you can submit your comments digitally. But we'd love to be able to take these comments, and we're literally going to print them or take your handwritten notes and put them in the walls of the chamber. And we've all heard the expression of walls could talk. We like the idea of there being expressions of gratitude and encouragement for chamber staff and members and whoever will utilize this building, and have those expressions in the walls as a cheerleader for what the chamber will do and lead our community for many years to come. So if you haven't already, please write some comments on your way out, and we appreciate your participation. So thank you.
Thanks to Kevin and Lily and the entire team at 444 for helping shape the Chamber's new space that will strengthen and further the impact of the Chamber in our community. As we conclude our 73rd annual meeting, we'd like to say one more thanks to our presenting sponsor, First Horizon Bank, and happy birthday to the town of Boone on the 150th birthday celebration. Keeping with the Chamber's relocation theme, which we just heard about, we'd like to welcome the Watauga High School Choir for a little piece to end the night, The Road Home.
Stephen Paulus has become a favorite of ours over the years. And as we reflect on Boone being our home, the place where we met all of you and our friends and our family, it's become very important to us. The text, tell me, where is a place I can call my own, that I left, that I lost so long ago? All these years I have wandered, oh, when will I know? There's a road, there's a way that will lead me home.
concludes this meeting. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for being here. Take care, everybody.